When I was 4 or 5, I poked a fork into an electrical outlet. The next thing I knew, there was a flash and a crack, like somebody had whapped me over the head with a frying pan. And then I was lying on the floor with Eli bending over me yelling, "Jesus, Danny, wake up!" Which is when I knew I'd nearly fried my brains because Eli had taken the Lord's name in vain, which he never did just then because of dating Bridget Babcock, who was a Baptist. After the fork incident, my mom went out and bought all these little plastic covers and plastered them over every electrical outlet in the house. And Eli got me this educational picture book called Safety with Mr. Electricity, which he used to scare the pants off me. Finally, Mom made him stop because I was starting to have nightmares. In my nightmares, Mr. Electricity looked pretty much like the little cartoon guy in the book with his yellow t-shirt with the lightning bolt on it, except that he had glowy vampire eyes and pointy teeth. At night, when the lights were off, he'd crawl out of the electrical outlets and slink around the house, trying to melt the eyeballs of helpless little kids and turn their brains into vegetable soup. Especially helpless little kids who'd poked at his butt with a fork. After spending my formative years with Eli and Mr. Electricity, it's probably a miracle I can bring myself to charge my iPod. Anyway, I think it was that fork that gave Eli the idea for his education days. I needed them because I was a Darwin Award waiting to happen, is what he said. At first, I thought that was a compliment. Then I found out that actually, the Darwin Award is for people who have killed themselves in incredibly stupid ways, thus eliminating themselves from the gene pool. Such as Charles Stevens, who went over Niagara Falls in a barrel with an anvil tied to his feet for ballast. Afterward, nothing was left of him but one arm. They knew it was his arm because of the tattoo. "I think education days is a crap idea," I said. "I already go to school. I don't need any more education days." "Admitting you need help is the first step towards solving a problem," Eli said. "This is your chance to benefit from my superior brains and experience. Don't be a wuss." This was how Eli always talked me into doing things. So far, so as not to be a wuss, I jumped off the high board at Marshall Lake, eaten a whole jalapeno pepper, run around the outside of the house naked, called a girl that Eli liked on the phone and pretended to be a computer dating service, and ridden a skateboard down Turkey Hill and into a ditch. "Forget it, Eli," I said. "I'm not doing this for you, you twerp," Eli said. "I'm doing this for me. When the zombies start crawling down the chimney, I don't want you squealing around being short and useless. I want you out there competently defending me with a cleaver." Then he gave me this grin, and Eli always had a really great grin, even though it was sort of crooked. It went up higher on one side than the other. That grin always pretty much talked me into doing things, too. Here's some of the stuff Eli taught me on our education days. How to crack my toes. How to whistle. Which finger to give when you're giving somebody the finger. All about bras. How to smoke a cigarette, even though he told me not to get into the habit because it would rot my lungs. How to drive a car, even though I could only go 15 miles per hour up and down the dirt road in back of the barn. How to unlock a car door with a coat hanger after you've gotten out of the car and slammed the door and left it running with the keys inside it by mistake. How to shoot a BB gun, what not to shoot it at, and why don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes was a stupid idea. The 7 words that nobody is ever supposed to say, and when you can say them anyway. How to light a barbecue grill in under 30 seconds, using a technique I had to swear never to reveal to Mom or in print. How to throw a football. What to do in a fight. He also told me where babies come from and how to make sure they don't, which pretty much freaked me out at the time, but Eli said give it a few years and I'd realize that there was a lot of potential there. You'd think that some of this would be the sort of stuff a dad would do, but to tell the truth, a lot of the time our dad wasn't around. And even when he was around, he still wasn't really there, if you know what I mean. Walter says our dad's absence created a vacuum, which is something that nature abhors, and that Eli filled it up. Here's a typical conversation without my dad. Scene: the Anderson family kitchen. In the middle of the room is a large wooden table